Hi everyone, it's Lynn. Today I'm going to make some ornaments using an egg carton. So the first thing I did was cut the egg carton apart, and I went straight down the center of where the eggs go on both sides, leaving just that point that's in the middle. Then I cut all of those points apart, and after I did that, I cut all of the edges off, and then I kind of rounded the what was left. It is a little bit hard to explain, but as you can see right here, I'm kind of like rounding each of those sides off, so you end up with that. And I will be making 3 quick ornaments, so I needed all 5 of the points from one egg carton. For the first ornament, I painted 3 of them green, and I used just acrylic paint, and I gave it full coverage, but if I missed a spot, it didn't bother me because I kind of liked a little bit of that gray showing through. And I gave it just one coat, and I did the outside and the inside. Next, I took a wood dowel, and I used a baby wipe, and I covered it with antique wax. When I was finished doing that, I cut a small piece of that egg carton, and I traced 2 small stars onto it, and then I painted them with a goldish yellow color, and it was light enough where I could still see the star outline underneath it. So when they were dry, I cut them out. When all of the pieces were dry, I added some hot glue right into the center of one of the carton points, and I stuck the dowel in there. And then I flipped it over and I added a small bead to the top, and then I added glue to that bead, and I put another piece of the carton on top of that. And then before I added that last piece on, I put some twine through a bead, and then I fed it through that carton piece, that point, because they already have holes in them, and that's going to be how I hang it. And then I added glue inside of that to hold it in place and to attach it to the top of the rest of the tree. I added a little bit of glue onto the twine, and I pressed those 2 stars right up against each other. And then I added one more bead. I fed that twine right through it, and it just sits on top of the star. Just gives it a little bit more of a decorative look. And it turned out super cute. And for the next ornament, I painted one of those carton pieces white, and I took a bead and I put some twine through it. And then I fed it up through the bottom of that piece into that hole that's in the top. And I added a little bit of glue so it stays in place. And then I fed a little bit of a bigger bead through that twine to sit on top of that carton piece. And then I tied that twine into a knot so that that bead stays right where it's supposed to be. And then I just glued 2 petals from a poinsettia flower that I had to the back. And if you can't tell already, I'm making a little angel. And once I had her wings glued on, I took a piece of twine, a white piece of twine that had a little bit of gold going through it, and I just made a loop out of it, and I glued it on her head for a halo. And then I used a Sharpie to draw a sweet little face on her, and then I added a twine bow. And she turned out adorable. For the last ornament, I painted one of those carton points silver, and I'm going to make a bell. So I took a little gold bell and I tied some twine onto it. And then I glued a bead into the center of that piece. And I lined the hole up in the bead to the hole in the top of the carton piece. And I put the twine through that. And then I did check to make sure the bell was hanging at the length I wanted. And then I added some glue to the top to make sure that it stays in place. And then I just trimmed off that twine and took the other end of it and glued that down. It's very light, so I'm sure that that's going to hold just fine. And the last thing I did was just glue some greenery and some berries to the top of the bell. And I love this one as well. All 3 of them turned out adorable. It's such a fun project to do, and it would be a great one to do with kids. So I hope you guys like the project, and I hope you give this one a try. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Have a really great day, and we will see you next time. Bye-bye.